All right, we are green, brothers and sisters. Welcome back. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors. We are about to go on a freedom expression unlike you've ever seen before because the ranking Senate individual in the Judiciary Committee just said a bunch of things about the guns and the Second Amendment that we just need to address. You're going to love every second of this. The insanity is on full parade. Good to know it's not going away. And of course, if you're enjoying this content and you want to backhand tyranny every opportunity that you get, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. All right, guys, as you get in here, make sure the audio and the video is good. What we are about to walk through is genuinely insanity on parade. That is the only way that I can explain where we're about to go in, because we're about to talk about, what's this guy's name? Oh yeah, Raskin. This is the ranking member on the actual Senate Judiciary Committee, and he has some things to say around the 2A that is questionable at best. All right, so what I'm going to do, guys, as you're getting in here, turn the volume up, and I'm going to get into this. This is about a 5-minute clip. We're just going to go until we can find some points to actually offer some logic and sanity in the face of the crazy. And now we are going to get in here and just head headlong into the crazy. Let's get it. What up, guys? Make sure the audio and video is good as you're getting in here. This is Representative Raskin from Maryland. Let's get it.
Mr. Chairman, just on that interesting point you raised at the beginning, I think we stand by our math. There are more than 50,000 gun dealer licensees in America, more than 6,000 pawnbroker licensees, and more than 20,000 manufacturer licensees who each have the right to directly sell from their unique physical locations. And that does add up to more than the various fast food outlets and so on that we identified. But we'll submit for the record the exact arithmetic. I'm glad that you at least implicitly seem to agree that if true, this is a shocking statistic that there are that many gun violence dealers in the country.
Whoa, hold the phone. Did you catch that? How many gun violence dealers there are in the country? Not gun dealers. How many gun violence dealers there are in the country? And there's more than fast food chains. Yeah, that's just the opening salvo. Wait until we really get going. I just had to point that out because it's kind of comical.
In 2022, shocking levels of gun violence caused Congress to come together after decades of inaction to pass the first major piece of gun safety legislation in 28 years. Ever since President Biden signed the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act into law, and with the efforts of the ATF, we've made substantial gains in reversing the gun violence epidemic.
Time out real quick, pause. You notice how he's not going to say that we've had more guns bought than have ever been bought before? Notice how he's not going to say that, but then he's also going to claim that the gun violence prevention, that he calls it, is because the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act that had no legislative attack at all. It was all ATF enabling, like engaged in the business rule. 18 to 19 to 20-year-olds can't get their constitutional rights for a mandatory 10-day waiting period. You know, those things that have nothing to do with what he's talking about. In fact, counteract that entire argument. Seriously, guys, this happened in Congress yesterday. Okay, this is the ranking Democrat. Let's keep going.
We ended 2024 with a 25% drop in nationwide homicides compared to 2022. And of course, firearms are involved in more than 80% of murders in the country. According to the Office of Gun Violence Prevention's one-year progress report in September of last year, more than 600 defendants had been charged under our new gun trafficking and straw purchasing laws, and 900 firearm transfers to people under the age of 21 were prevented by enhanced background checks. The key point...
So hold on a second. 900 people out of a total of 23 million guns. Just to give you a little reference. And notice how he said the enhanced background checks of 19, 20-year-old people? Yeah, that's because they have a mandatory 10-day waiting period now, which is a constitutional infringement against them. He's about to go into the Supreme Court and say how they haven't said any of the Bipartisan Safe Communities Act is illegal. Yeah, just wait. Watch this. This guy's so slimy.
Is that this law and other Biden administration regulations saved thousands of lives, contributing to 3,500 fewer murders between 2023 and 2024 without ever once infringing on the Second Amendment. And we know this because the Supreme Court never invalidated any part of the Bipartisan Safe Communities Act or any other Biden administration gun safety rule as...
Hold the phone. All right. This is where we start to get a little bit of liar pants on fire. The ghost gun rule, that one got smoked by the Fifth Circuit, and it is now in the Supreme Court. We're going to hear a ruling on that any day. That's a big one. Then you've got the engaged in business rule, which the Fifth Circuit is now getting the final judgment on very quickly. So all the crap that he's spewing, the Supreme Court hasn't ruled on it. Because it hasn't worked up in enough time. It's been smoked at every other level. I mean, good Lord, Cargill, Rahimi, Bruin, come at me. But yeah, the engaged in business and the Bipartisan Safe Communities Act hasn't been finalized yet. This is what they do, guys. They lie through omission. Good Lord. Let's keep going.
A violation of the Second Amendment. On the contrary, they've all been deemed to be constitutional. Yet our colleagues continue to insist that common sense gun safety laws of this type violate the Second Amendment.
They do.
The Second Amendment doesn't protect the right of access to a firearm without a violent criminal background check or the right to purchase machine guns or military-style assault weapons. The Supreme Court, including in the DC versus Heller decision, has repeatedly stated that reasonable regulations of firearms to protect public safety are consistent with the Second Amendment. But our colleagues want to preempt.
Yeah, you notice how he's not mentioning anything about common use. He's not mentioning anything about, the other aspects of how the infringements have gone too far. Yeah, he hit on machine guns, which is underneath the NFA, and then he hit on background checks, but he didn't talk about licensure and how all those things are up for questionability, and 18, 19, 20-year-old bans are up questionable in multiple courts across the land. See, that's the thing, guys. They don't talk about any of the stuff that's actually happening. They just go down back to the Heller decision, and they completely skip the Bruin decision, the Cargill decision, the Rahimi decision, the Loper Enterprises decision, all of those that happened in the last few years. But the Heller decision said we can have a background check. It's so disingenuous, and this guy is so slimy. Oh, goodness, let's keep going.
State and local law and force Americans to accept more dangerous weapons in their community, all under the guise of protecting the Second Amendment. I challenge my colleagues to explain how any of the Biden administration reforms actually violate the Second Amendment, because no court ever said they did. The problem is that some of our colleagues have completely deformed and misstated what the Second Amendment stands for. Their now infamous insurrectionist theory says that the Second Amendment gives you the right to overthrow the government.
Okay, hold on. So you are going to see this again. This, I'm telling you right here, right now, on Langley Outdoors, Braden telling you, and you guys can mark it down. You're going to hear the words insurrectionist theory again when it comes to the Second Amendment. Because this guy and the Democrats, the way they work is they introduce something, and if it plays well, they keep on saying it over and over and over again for the end goal that they have not yet to be unveiled. You want an example of that? The assault weapons, the polymer plastic pistols, the health care, the gun violence is a health crisis. Guys, this one's going to come up next. The insurrectionist theory. He's referring to the idea that the guns that we have in this country are meant to prevent tyranny from a enemy, foreign and domestic. You're about to hear him go down what that is. Watch this. This is really big stuff, guys. That's why pay attention.
Our former colleague Matt Gaetz said the Second Amendment, quote, is about maintaining within the citizenry the ability to maintain an armed rebellion against the government if that becomes necessary. This purported right to overthrow the government means that the people must enjoy access to munitions equivalent to that of the arsenal possessed by the government. As my friend Representative Chip Roy says, the Second Amendment was, quote, designed purposefully to empower the people to resist the force of tyranny used against them. And my friend Lauren Boebert says that the Second Amendment, quote, has nothing to do with hunting unless you're talking about hunting tyrants.
All of those things are true. His entire postulation here is that these are not true statements. How was our country founded? Our country was literally founded by individuals with muskets standing up to Great Britain and saying, nah, fam, I'm good. That is literally how our country was founded. Oh, good Lord. And then for him to sit here and say that Chip Roy, Lauren Boebert, and Matt Gaetz are out of their element to say that the guns and the equal equivalency to the military to protect our own rights is out of league with what our founders envisioned, that was the whole freaking point. But don't worry, this Democrat's got it figured out. Let's keep going.
Despite all of this pseudo-revolutionary rhetoric about how the Constitution provides a right of civil insurrection, the actual Constitution, in a half dozen different places, treats insurrection and rebellion not as protected rights, but as serious and dangerous offenses against our government and against our people. Article 1 gives...
Now, okay, so you have to understand what he just did. He is now shifting from the Second Amendment, where it is very plain, clear as day, shall not be infringed, and now he's going into insurrectionist and rebellion theory, right? He's saying that if you have the idea that you want to defend yourself against a tyrannical government domestically, then you're going to be under rebellion and insurrection, and the Constitution doesn't like rebellion and insurrection, so therefore you don't need your guns because rebellion and insurrection is bad in the Constitution, of which says shall not be infringed. Don't listen to that part, listen to this part. Guys, that's what we're dealing with. That's where you're going to hear this insurrectionist theory kind of thing coming out. Let's keep going, though. That's where he's going.
Congress the power to call forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. The Republican Guarantee Clause in Article 4 tells the U.S. to guarantee a Republican form of government to the states and protect them, quote, against domestic violence. These provisions followed Shays' Rebellion, an armed uprising in Massachusetts in the 1780s, which the founders strongly condemned and which influenced the writing of the Constitution. The Constitution thoroughly rejects the right-wing fantasy that random bands of disgruntled citizens can claim the powers of a militia to commit...
Okay, so... Again, guys, this guy is bobbing and weaving. Okay, you have to understand how these people think and how they operate. The Second Amendment is not for everybody because that's, the common sense and the Supreme Court says it's not for everybody. And they even said that certain guns and things like that aren't for everybody. In fact, if you go into the insurrectionist theory, which we made up, the insurrectionist theory says you can't have insurrections. And so therefore, since you have guns to defeat the tyranny of your own government, that would be an insurrection or rebellion. And that is bad. And the Constitution doesn't like insurrections and rebellions. In fact, you can't be a member of a militia because if you're a member of a militia, then you're used by the state to put down insurrection and rebellions. So really, in a cyclical way, you can't have any of these things. That's exactly what he is saying right here. He is using the Constitution to conflict against itself, the Constitution, in order to get more control over the constitutional rights. This guy is a slimy, smarmy lawyer, but that's exactly what he just did. Write it down. Well, I promise you're going to hear it again. Let's keep going, though. He's got more.
Violent acts against the police. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 16 reserves, quote, to the states respectively, the appointment of the officers and the authority of training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress. This intergovernmental cooperation is how we come to have what the Second Amendment calls for in its first clause, a well-regulated militia. This means well-regulated by the government, as the Supreme Court has repeatedly said. The Proud Boys and Oath Keepers...
Okay, so now we've come full circle, and I'm glad we could have this relationship together so we could get to this final conclusion. So now, okay, we've gone from the Second Amendment is a limited right. Not everyone can have everything. And if you believe that you are here to fight tyranny and that's why you need firearms, well, then you're an insurrectionist or a rebellion leader. And therefore, because the Constitution doesn't like insurrection or rebellion, you can't have your Second Amendment rights. And if you did, then the militia was here to tell you at the basically the behest of the state that you were going to be put down. So the state controls the militias. In fact, it also says a well-regulated militia in the Second Amendment. So not only do the states control it, but the states also regulate it. And that means highly controlled. Wow. No. What the well-regulated means is in good practice. Practice, regular. It means know how to use it. Every guy's got one. Every guy knows how to use it and can be ready at a minute's notice. That's the idea. The idea is not to go in this cyclical path of, I don't even know what the lies, manipulations of the Constitution to circumvent itself. But what you just watched happened yesterday, and there was a lot of stuff going on, but I needed to put this video out to show you guys what was popping off with the leading and ranking Democrat in the judicial committee in the House of the United States. you're going to hear insurrectionist theory again. I guarantee it. But you know what, guys? We spent a lot of time together. I'm going to leave that right here. Spread this out, send this out, like, share, do all the things. And I'm going to see you guys tomorrow. When I get rested and we come back at this freedom train again. I'm Braden. See you later. It means America. That's right, it does.